Well, we're on air with Barbara Marshall. How are you, Barbara?
Good morning, Hilary. I'm very well, thank you, and I'll stay well as long as the temperature stays in the 20s. Once it gets up into the mid-30s, I start getting very wilted.
Definitely. We're not used to it here in Melbourne, are we?
No, we're not. We've had a relatively mild summer, and thank God it hasn't been too bad around Melbourne, and I really feel for the people in Western Victoria. It's still very frightening.
Yes, it is, isn't it? So, what are you going to be talking about this morning, Barbara?
Well, it's coming up for St Patrick's Day. And traditionally in Melbourne, St Patrick's Day was a day you planted garlic. And in previous years, recently I've planted garlic in March and on St Patrick's Day. But I've noticed that I think because of climate change and the lateness of the season, so we're extending the warm weather a lot further into March and the dry weather than we used to, that planting later is probably going to be the thing to do. So I'm revisiting my timetable, but now's a good time to actually start preparing to plant garlic. Because it's a long-term crop. It has to stay in the ground for 6-7 months before you can harvest it. So preparing it is everything. Preparing the beds, and so now's a good time to start. I would suggest, if you've got an area in the garden you can just dedicate to garlic, then that's great. Growing in a pot is possible, but you'd only get a few closed if you've got a big tub. Garlic does like a very fertile soil because, as I said, it's going to be in the ground for 6 or 7 months. So it needs lots of nutrients to start off with, and a good dig over of the area you're going to plant. Blood and bone, lots of nitrogen to start off with to get the cloves going. So maybe a really good dressing of fertiliser. Chicken manure, all of compost, loosen the soil up so it's nice and loose and not compacted at all. This time of the year, of course, it can get very compacted around here. Now it's so dry.
Is it better off to add sand or something like that to make it looser?
I'd actually maybe some mushroom mulch. Something like that, more organic to keep it open, rather than adding sand. Unless you've got clay, if you've got very heavy clay, then you can perhaps add some coarse sand to open it up a bit. And then go and select your goat. So I'd leave it for maybe till April. For a few weeks, so it'll settle down. Give it a good cover of mulch, and I gather you can use coffee grounds. Coffee grounds make an excellent mulch for garlic. They suppress the weeds, and they also open the soil up. So start collecting your coffee grounds for when the garlic's in the ground. Yes, you're going to say something?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, sorry. I think there's a bit of an echo. So the next thing is go and select your garlic varieties, and there's lots of different varieties that are suitable for Melbourne. There's some that have a stiff stem. They're hard neck varieties, and the ones that have a softer foliage, so they sort of falls over a bit. They don't make that hard stem. soft neck ones. I go for the hard neck ones myself. I think they're earlier and they keep better. But they don't have quite, the soft neck ones I don't think have quite the same flavour as the hard neck ones. It's a bit early to find them in nurseries, although some of the more specialist nurseries, I think like Nillumbik Nursery will probably have garlic bulbs available fairly shortly, if not already. You can use garlic from the greengrocer, but I'd be very cautious about that because, and certainly only use Australian-grown garlic because anything that's imported will have been sprayed with a sprouting inhibitor, a methyl bromide. So you don't want, you want your garlic to sprout. You don't want it to be inhibited. Farmers markets, good place to buy garlic. You can definitely buy it online from some of the seed companies, and there's some wonderful Tasmanian garlics that are excellent, although they're probably more suitable for colder weather than we now have in Melbourne. But once you get your garlic, if the weather's still hot and the ground is still fairly warm, and it might be I think March is going to be pretty warm. We're getting unseasonably hot days now at the end of February, so the ground's going to take more than a couple of weeks for the ground to cool off. Pop your garlic in the fridge, not in the freezer, just in the fridge, and leave it till April. Leave it for a month. And garlic likes to have that chill to get it to move. So there's no harm in popping it in a mesh bag. Don't put it in a plastic bag. It'll sweat. In a mesh bag in the fridge, and then when you're ready to plant in end of March, beginning of April, take it out, separate all the cloves. Don't bother planting the little ones. They won't grow into a decent bulb. I should backtrack and say that the reason you don't plant early if the ground is still warm is that the garlic then won't make nice big bulbs that separate. It'll make one big solid bulb. So you really want to have all the separate cloves. So keep all the big ones, the big cloves, and use the little ones in your pasta sauce. Keep those ready to plant. You can separate them all before you put them in the fridge if you like, and keep them in a mesh bag. When you're planting the garlic, I would actually, the rule of thumb is, twice or three times the depth of the garlic bulb. Don't have it sitting on the surface. So get a stick or a dibber and use your finger so that you're going down at least the length of your forefinger. Double the length of the garlic bulb. Push it right in with the little plate at the bottom and the pointy bit at the top. Cover it up, and I take about 20 centimetres apart for the per bulb. Cover it. Give it a very, very deep water. In fact, water your garden. Water the garlic bed probably a day or two before you want to plant the garlic, so it's good and friable and quite moist. push the garlic right down, cover it up, give it a good water, and then give it a mulch with something light that doesn't take, like light straw or maybe some coffee grounds. Compost it if best, if the coffee grounds are composted. Some mushroom mulch, and leave that. Don't pack it down tight. Just leave it so that the garlic can sprout through it, and water that down. One of the things that garlic hates, it hates competition. Absolutely hates competition. So you have to be absolutely meticulous about keeping the weeds away, which means just if you've got a well-weeded bed before you plant it, that's always a good start. Give it a good mulch with coffee grounds or mushroom mulch as it starts to appear, and then be really quite fussy about keeping the weeds out of it as the bulbs are coming through. You probably need to do that every couple of weeks. Just check on it and nip them out as they pop up.
Right. Okay.
Watering, if it's going to be really, if it's dry, certainly a dry autumn, and I think we're forecasting a dry autumn. Make sure that as the bulbs are growing, that they have enough water, that the soil is damp but not wet. You don't want them wilting, and you don't want they do like a good drink. But once the weather cools down over winter, we usually have enough rain to keep the garlic growing without watering it. So it probably won't need any water. But if the weather is dry, and again, just stick your finger in the garden bed and see what it feels like. If it's pretty dry, then or if if the fronds are starting, the leaves are starting to wilt over a bit, certainly give it a good drink and keep it well mulched.
Right. Right.
And
we'll just have a small break now and be back soon.
Streaming live all day, every day at pvfm.org.au.
Diamond Valley Community Support, located in Greensborough Plaza, supports the community with material aid, information, advice and referral services and community projects. You too can help strengthen our community by shopping or having a stall at a DVCS community market, bargain hunting in a DVCS op shop, supporting DVCS donation and fundraising drives around food, Christmas, education and other projects, or by donating your time, by volunteering your skills. Explore www.dvsupport.org.au to find out how.
Community group supporter of Plenty Valley FM.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet, sunsets over the beaches.
Sounds like summer.
88.6
Plenty Valley FM.
Well, we're back on air with Barbara. She's been talking about how to grow garlic, or how to prepare your bed for garlic, and what to do once it's in the ground. It's actually quite fascinating. I have tried this before and failed very miserably, so it's nice to know how to do it.
It can be a bit of a heartbreak crop for some reason. Some years I just don't think it gets cold enough to form good bulbs, and other years it can be just absolutely fantastic. Last year wasn't too bad. It was quite a good year. So yes, we're always at the mercy of the weather, and maybe look for varieties that are becoming more suitable for warmer winters. I've been having terrific success with elephant garlic. Elephant garlic is, well, it's not actually a garlic. I think it's more of a variety of leek, but it smells like garlic. It's very, very tall, and I grow it in amongst my roses. because the flower heads are really rather attractive, and the bulbs when you dig them up, they're huge. The clothes are massive, and they're really quite mild garlic flavour. They're not as strong as the normal garlic, but they're just delicious if you roast them. Roast the whole bulb. They're very tasty and very sweet. So elephant garlic, if you don't have, especially if you don't have room for a dedicated garlic bed, you can grow elephant garlic amongst other plants, amongst other vegetables, amongst your roses, and it's very tall, grows up to up to a metre. So you get a very decorative flower head, and that's a very good alternative. So garlic should stay in the ground until late October in Melbourne, October, November. Usually you can tell when the outside leaves start to yellow and droop. You push your finger in the ground and you should be able to feel whether or not the bulb has formed into a nice fat bulb. And then as the tops yellow off, and sometimes they flower, and that's fine. You can actually use the garlic flower spike in your cooking as well. It's quite edible. You can poke your finger in and see if the bulbs form nicely, and then lift them up very gently with a fork or something so you don't pierce the bulb. Don't try pulling it up with the stem, because if you break the stem off, then that kind of lets rot and moisture into the bulb a bit. So it's best to do that with the stem intact. Then lay them out to dry, and they need probably 2 weeks to dry off completely. And you can then plait them. You can plait them when they're green and hang them, which is always very decorative. And if you have enough garlic, it makes a wonderful present for someone, because garlic's horrendously expensive, I've found. And homegrown is always appreciated.
Well, definitely, and the health experts say you're better off without bought garlic, because, of course, you talked about the methyl bromide that they spray it with. So, they say...
Oh, there's nothing like homegrown garlic.
Yeah.
And think of all those wonderful garlic aiolis and dips and wonderful things you can have. It's very good. It may keep away vampires.
Also,
terrific job.
It's a very good antibiotic. It's an antiviral, an antifungal, and an antiprotozoal.
Yes.
So it has to be eaten raw to get that benefit, but definitely.
Well, that's about it. And the garlic will start, usually good long keepers. It will last you pretty much the season, and then they'll start, sprouting again around about now. So you'll get your year's worth of garlic interest. It's such a good crop, and it's so satisfying when it grows well. Oh, it's such a thrill, and when it doesn't, it's a bit of a heartbreak.
Yeah,
now's the time to put those couple of weeks in and get it all ready, so that you've got more of a guarantee of a good crop at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I've seen it growing in old farmsteads where they have a patch. Of course, it was their medicinals in those days. In older times,
it's wonderful. And where would we be without it?
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Barbara. It's been wonderful. Our time's up, and definitely.
Well, thank you very much, Hilary. It was good to talk to you, and good to talk to everyone. And happy gardening. I think this time of the year is a lot of maintenance out in the garden. As everything's dying off, and we need to do good pruning and tidying up time.
Yes. Okay, thanks again, Barbara, and we'll see
Thanks,
you
Hilary. Bye.
next time. Bye.